not a terrible episode. I definitely think in the grand scheme of like celebrating 250 episodes, I don't think the move was to have a 60-minute match.
59 minutes, 58 seconds, clear.
Sorry. I'll be better. But, you know, regardless, we opened with Will Ospreay versus MJF for the International.
The International Championship.
And I gotta say, like, you gave me some live text updates, and normally I said avoid the spoilers, but I was like, you know what, bring them to me.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was anyone was expecting this match to go that long.
No.
I feel like this was probably the like 4th or 5th time that AEW has done an hour-long match. Probably, I want to say the 2nd time that it's ever been done on TV.
Yeah.
The only other one I think of is Hangman and Danielson.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, was that one.
I think they did it at Arthur Ashe.
Yep.
But the difference with that was they had a match prior and it went to draw, and so they were like, this one's going to have a 60-minute time limit, and we're going to have like judges in case it goes to a draw.
Yeah.
So like we were forewarned, and then I think about like MJF versus Danielson was also, you know, was an Iron Man match, so we knew it was going to be 60 minutes.
Right.
And normally matches like that go to a draw. So we were kind of thinking it might go to a draw.
Yeah.
But it did not. And again, I was not expecting this to be as long as it was, and I almost think we should have like had some kind of warning, because like, I don't know, they're very few and far between, so when they happen I feel like it's important to like know, like it's kind of like a thing you have to prepare for.
Yeah.
Right? Because 60 minutes of wrestling is a pretty big deal.
We were hitting the half-hour mark, and I was like, what's going on here?
You were like, okay, 45 minutes, maybe.
I was like, 45, and then I was like, what the fuck? Like, we're an hour in? I was like, huh?
So, it was pretty nutty, but I don't think it was, like, outright, you know, it was not a bad match. I'd say it had some, like, pacing issues. Like, in the middle, it, like, got very, like, boring. I don't know. It didn't keep my attention for the entirety of it. But
agreed.
Then I'd say like after, I think they did like 2 commercials during it, 3. And
yeah,
I think
2.
Once they came back from the second one, that's where it really started picking up. Like they did a whole dislocated shoulder angle with Will Ospreay.
Yeah, the doctors like kept coming out. They did a bit where they like snapped his arm back into place, and like
which I kind of love that.
Yeah, I do
like,
too.
It's very dramatic, but like, not something we see a lot.
Yeah, because it's like the doctors come out and be like, oh, yeah, end the match, and he's like, no, bruv, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta defend the International, bruv.
Yeah.
There's a lot that this match, dude, they did so much. There was so many spots. I can't even imagine what it takes to coordinate a match like that.
Tons of pile drivers, ton of reversals, tons of back and forth. They did probably, 2 or 3 times like reverse pins where it go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
And I'm not like a super fan of that kind of sequence.
Yeah.
I was the first few times I see it, but again, it's one of those things where that's where repetition will kill me, because it's like, we know where this goes, and like they've done it so many times where it does end in one of them actually winning.
Like that.
But it was really good. MJF just proving that he's not just a good promo, he's a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
This just reminds me of he had a match with Kenny Omega on Collision. Probably in the fall, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And this was right up there with some of my favorite MJF matches. It's just so funny because our introduction to MJF is I'm a scumbag. I fucking hate this sport. I'm just here to collect a paycheck.
Yeah, but then he puts on a banger leg performance.
Well, yeah, and it started really when he became world champion because he started wrestling, more frequently.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, I think Excalibur made a comment, or this might have actually been in the Forbidden Door that I watched from last year, but Excalibur was like, oh, he like puts on a facade that he doesn't like care about this shit, but he's like watching tape because otherwise how would he be able to reverse all this shit and like do all this stuff?
Right.
It is very clear that these are the two guys that AEW wants you to pay attention to, which is good because we know that from this match, but it's also very bad because either you should have given more time to Swerve at the end of the show, or you should have opened the show with the Swerve match and made this like the main event.
Yeah, Swerve's match was 10 minutes long and it ended in a DQ, and that's the world champion. Like,
and again, it's just like
crazy.
Why are we booking him like that? Obviously, he's in Blood and Guts, and it makes sense with everything. I personally, I never was really on board with the idea of him being in Blood and Guts, but I'm entertaining it a little more now just because Hangman's, on the other team.
Yeah.
But it's the booking of it doesn't entirely make sense. I guess like there's a lot of like intricacies of it. So there's Hangman and Swerve. That's a rivalry.
Yep.
There's the Bucks and the Acclaimed. That's a rivalry. But when are they going to have that tag team title match? Because they still have one, right?
Right.
They won that Eliminator match.
Yeah.
And we thought they were going to like have it at the last pay-per-view, but they didn't. So there's that. That could be its own rivalry. There's Jack Perry and Darby Allin that they started like having a little beef. And then there's Mark Briscoe. And I'm like curious as to like why Mark Briscoe. Obviously he was the first to like declare for this match, but like why is he's kind of just like shoehorned into this rivalry that he doesn't really belong in.
Yeah.
And he's also the Ring of Honor world champion on Team AEW in what should be one of their biggest matches of like their year on television.
Right.
So
it's a little weird.
I would be lying if I said I was excited for this Blood and Guts match. Just because I feel like there's usually a better build to it.
I think the thing with it, and it's kind of my problem with the MJF and Ospreay match, is MJF and Ospreay was a great match, right? It was incredible.
Yeah.
Take that alone, watch that a couple of years from now, and be like, holy fuck, like this was crazy. But it's the story around it. Yeah, MJF and Ospreay had a weak build. It was seemingly random. It was just like, one day MJF.
It manifested in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it manifested in 2 weeks. It's a match that should have been held for All In. Like, imagine if that was at All In, was an hour long, and MJF won. It would go fucking crazy.
Yeah, that would be great.
It would be great. So, it's a match that should have been at All In. It was too soon. Didn't have a great build. But it's a banger match. I think that's what's going to happen with Blood and Guts, too, is it's got a weird build, and we're going to watch and be like, holy fuck, that was great. But put it back in the context of everything else, and it's just like, okay, like, why?
All right, like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, and that's the same thing with MJF and Ospreay, right? Like, MJF won the title. He supposedly used, his ring to knock out Ospreay when the ref was down, and, pinned him with 2 seconds left and won the title. Okay, where do we go from here? Like, are they gonna bring back Daniel Garcia right before All In and then have a triple threat or something and then make Will Ospreay win it again at All In? Or like, is MJF gonna keep it? Or like, I don't know. There's all these questions and all these like open ends, and the builds are just so strange and wacky, like.
Yeah, and I really want to know what's like going on in everybody's heads in creative, because I don't even know like what creative consists of.
Yeah. But again, it's like what we've been saying, you know, for the past really few months is AEW, the matches are great. The wrestling is top notch. It's good stuff. Like,
I wonder
it's
if
entertaining,
it's getting
fun to watch, but the stories are just like bleh.
I wonder if it's just getting to the point where that's what like they are gonna settle for as a company. Like that is what this is more so about. Obviously, like they've been pushing the thing that like this is where the best wrestle. You know?
Yeah, and that's okay. Like there is an audience for that. Like honestly, if you watch WWE, you get way more talking and other shit than you do wrestling. Until the PLEs, where it's just like, okay, here's 5 matches, bam. But on the weekly shows for WWE, you do get a lot more talking. You get a lot more story and build. Like, that's your soap opera show, whereas this is your, like, action show. You know? It's like...
Yeah.
It's fine, there is an audience for that, but it is, like, hurting it a little bit, I think.
I think so, too, just because we've seen what they are capable of, and they can tell a good story. I mean,
yeah, because they've done it
winning
before.
the world title... Hangman winning the world title back in 2022 was a 3-year-long story in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
And even, like, something that isn't as obvious like that, even that was a huge story. So it's just very, like, we gotta figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, the only, like, great story that I can think of is, like, Tony Storm Mariah May.